Denerim is the heart and soul of Ferelden. It was the city of King Calenhad, the birthplace of Andraste. As stubborn as a Mabari, and as good to have on your side. If we defeat Loghain here, the rest of the nation will follow us. By calling the landsmeet, I've struck the first blow. The advantage, for the moment, is ours. He will have little choice but to show himself, to oppose us directly. He will strike back at us. The only question that remains is how soon.
All I care is I don't have to sleep on the ground for once. Loghain immediately tries to intimidate Eamon into backing down over this opposition to Anora. Despite what that messenger was saying to the dwarves, Loghain has not made himself king. He sees himself only as the leader of his daughter's armies. Okay. If he's willing to be reasonable, I'm willing to be reasonable. If he's willing to be civil, I'll be civil.
And who is this, Eamon? Some new stray you picked up on the road?
Actually, we met in Ostagar. I guess age has clouded your memory. Who is that man who helped me in the battle plans? Does that beacon mean to attack or run away like a pussy? Mine plays tricks on me.
You should curb your tongue. This is my city, and no safe place to speak treason. For anyone.
I'll wait 5 minutes and you'll forget who I am. Teyrn Loghain, mind like a steel sieve.
Don't interrupt, Churl. Your betters are talking.
Was that an attempt at a rebuke, or did Loghain put peanut butter in your mouth to make it look like you can talk? Look, any talk of unity is meaningless if you exclude the Grey Wardens. You can't fight the Blight without us.
Cailan depended on the Grey Warden's prowess against the Darkspawn, and look how well that ended.
He also counted on you to have his back, and look how well that ended. Understand why we're worried about repeating that mistake? You will not lead us, sir.
The Emperor of Orlais also thought I could not bring him down. Expect no more mercy than I showed him.
An emperor is just a man. You ever stared into the face of a high dragon? Stared as the fire went out of its eyes and belly as you delivered that final blow? My order slays archdemons. We end blights. You think I'll cower before your barks and boasts? Return to your palace. Prepare the throne for your new king. That probably would have been more effective if I didn't look like a blurry recording of a Vegas stage show. I mentioned earlier about the wisp orbiting my head. Just so you know, I know about tactics and thought it might be in there, but I figured, why should I waste time looking to sort that out when it's ultimately just a design flaw that's bothering me? Because even if the wisp is fixed, the issue is that you're shedding breadcrumbs while having a serious discussion, or you're semi-transparent or a specter thanks to your arcane warrior abilities or whatever. Add them all up, and if I showed up over Loghain's bed, he won't think I'm there to assassinate him. He'll think he just got a visit from the ghost of Christmas Gay. Don't look at me like that. I could have made a joke about Dickens, and I didn't. That's a little thing called class. Eamon and I soon meet with Anora's handmaiden. According to her, Anora has doubts about what Loghain said happened at Ostagar, so she went to Arl Howe, expecting to get help, unaware what a weasel he is. Instead, he has her locked up and discusses openly that she might be of more use as the murder victim of Eamon than as a living queen who doubted her father. We both find it questionable that Loghain would stoop so low as to allow his own daughter to be murdered as a political move, but she pleads with us to rescue her, and by us she means me. Howe is worlds of trouble. Besides the crap that he causes in the Noble Human story, and being Loghain's chief toady, he's corrupt, as are his men. This guard sergeant complains that not only has Howe done less to help ensure that Denerim is safe since he took over, but his men are usually worse than the criminals that they have to deal with, oftentimes having to arrest them for their intolerable behavior. When we arrive at the palace, there's a mob out front demanding to be paid for the work they've done for Howe. a mob that he is happy to ignore. At least Loghain is a skilled general. I mean, Howe is hungry for power and abuses it as far as he possibly can. He's perfectly capable of killing the queen and thinking that he can get away with it. We have to send Shale off, sadly. The plan isn't going to be the direct approach, I guess. We're going to try the old disguised as guards trick. We slip inside. Okay, so far so good.
It is best to keep your distance from all of them and try to blend in.
Sure, nobody will notice that I'm a translucent guard surrounded by stars and pixie dust while a wisp orbits over my head. Please explain to me again why we didn't bring the golem. It would have been extremely useful. For instance, when we reach Anora and find there's a magical barrier over the door so we can't let her out, we could have just said, Shale, would you mind busting a hole through that wall? And we would have gotten her out, while we fought off the guards, of course, but let's face it, we're going to wind up fighting off the guards anyway, especially because now we've got to go skipping around the place looking for the mage who set up this barrier in the first place.
Someone's here.
Look, you didn't say nothing. Wait, who are you? You're not on my watch! Call the watch! We've got an intruder!
See what I mean? After we slaughter some guards, despite our clever disguises, we discover Riordan, who frees himself thanks to our unintended distraction, and he's revealed to be none other than a Grey Warden, who sounds kind of like a French Liam Neeson. Double threat guy. He explains that after no word was received from King Cailan, that the Orlesian Grey Wardens came to find out what happened, but were turned away at the border. Being a native of Ferelden, Riordan was assigned to slip into the country and find out what's going on, and to maybe arrange for the removal of the edict declaring the Wardens traitors so that they could help with this whole blight situation. Instead, he was drugged, locked in the Arl's estate, and tortured for information, which he refused to give. Basically, if it wasn't for Loghain's pathological fear over Olay, Riordan would probably be the hero of this game instead of Tim. But because of his injuries, he'll be escaping to Eamon's house while we continue looking for that mage. At least this does provide me an opportunity to test a new combo spell I've been working on called First the Insult, Then the Injury. I summon a puddle of grease under the feet of my enemies, causing them all to fall over like idiots. While they struggle to get up in the midst of that, that's when I hit them with a fireball. It blasts them really good, and as a side effect, sets the grease on fire. I do not know what I'm going to do with myself when this war is over. Everyday magic suggests a new and creative way to turn living people into dead ones, and then to reanimate them. These are the dungeons, so as you can imagine, Howe puts them to the worst use. Among the torture victims and the imprisoned, we discover the son of a Banorn who learned what had happened at Ostagar, a member of Loghain's forces who says what happened there, an elf from the alienage in some way connected with the uprising, the former Arl of Denerim usurped by Howe, and what is either the Templar who found Jowen or one of the lone gunmen from the X-Files. I'm not sure. And of course, Arl Howe himself is down here. Probably brought lots of men with him too. Okay. Alright, here's the plan. If worse comes to worse, we'll download some DLC off of Xbox Live that ought to even up the odds. Okay, everybody set with that plan? Let's go!
Well, well, the Grey Warden. I must say I'm surprised Eamon would condone you invading my castle and murdering my men.
He's cut off our access. He knew this whole thing was a trap!
You should have left when you had the chance, Warden. Slunk off to the Anderfells to hide with the rest of your kind. This Landsmeet is a farce. Loghain will triumph, and you will die.
All right, Howe. You may have thought you planned for everything, but there's one thing you didn't consider. My willingness to light myself on fire, because I will throw a fireball at my own feet if I'll catch you in the flames. Hell, if you grab onto me, the last thing you'll hear is me crying, "Let's see who has more hit points," before I put my tongue on my own lightning staff.
Make us spit on you. I deserved more.
I know, you died before I could whip out the bees. With a mage dead in the battle, the door is open and Anoric is ready to escape with us disguised as a guard. Finally, this is of... shit.
Warden, in the name of the Regent, I am placing you under arrest for the murder of Rendon Howe and his men-at-arms. Surrender, and you may be shown mercy.
Look, I'm here to rescue the Queen.
Don't be ridiculous. The Queen isn't being held prisoner here or anywhere else. Her father would never stand for such a thing.
She's right here.
What?
Sir Catherine! Praise the Maker you're here. This brigand tried to kidnap me.
I looked upon a brood mother once and I thought, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Looks like you've proven me wrong, Your Highness. Well, I've just had several examples of what dungeons are like, so now I am not surrendering. I will attack you and your entire company of soldiers and blood mages. I don't care. Today is a good day to die. Ah! Holy fuck. Truth be told, I did not expect to win that fight. I was supposed to be overwhelmed and knocked out, and then dragged off to the dungeon. That would then force the others to plot their daring rescue.
We, sir, are performers from the Antiva City Circus, the famous Broma Brothers. Surely you have heard of us.
You don't look like brothers.
How can you say that? Are your eyes failing? Look at us. We are twins. Not identical, of course, but twins nonetheless.
I'm the pretty one.
But we have no need for the Broma brothers. Damn it.
After your rather alarming lack of subtlety, I feared the worst for you. I prayed for your safe return.
You should have saved those prayers for yourself. Ever seen a piranha egg hatch inside someone's eyeballs? It's going to be the last thing you'll ever see.
Well, what did you expect me to do? You announced me to my father's most trusted lackey. Did the purpose of my disguise entirely escape you?
Did the fact that we were already past the point of just walking out escape you? Wait, don't answer that. Of course it did. Just like it hasn't sunk in yet that you're being condescending with a man who just killed enough people getting here to technically qualify as an earthquake. If you're lucky, your last meal won't consist of a mouthful of scorpions, but don't count on it.
I barely managed to slip away from her when we reached the palace.
What? She did not pursue you because she was too busy trying to kill me thanks to you. If you're going to lie to me, don't insult me by making it obvious.
I am hoping that, despite our unfortunate beginning, we can still work together. Will you hear me out?
Talk like your life depends upon it, because it fucking does. She says that if we want real evidence to bring to the Landsmeet, look to the alienage. Something has happened or is happening there that can prove that Loghain is up to no good, and he could be brought down.
Hello again, Warden. It is good that you came to speak with me. I realize that my actions at Howe's estate may not have painted me in the best light. For that, I apologize and hope that we can start again.
Okay, for the sake of Ferelden, I will do my best to ignore your sniveling, backstabbing cowardice, yes, your shameless act of betrayal, and your seeming belief that the only part of honorable that matters is bull. I've been trying to give up murder, you should know. I'm on the patch right now, but it's hard to ignore something once it becomes a habit, I'm sure you can understand. Her argument is that she should be permitted to keep her throne after Loghain is removed, that she is a stronger candidate than Alistair, even though she is only queen by marriage, and that he would be king by blood. Well, the answer's pretty obvious here. We should have Alistair and her both marry. Yeah, I never much cared for Alistair, really, so I don't mind subjecting him to her. This is an old-fashioned way of solving political problems, and we are facing a whopper of a problem. And while they are both hesitant at first, they both eventually agree. Good. That way, if I need to explode her later for still more treachery she's pulled, we'll have a backup ruler in place. Before heading to the alienage, I visit several of the nobles in the tavern to fill them in on the fate of their loved ones in Arl Howe's dungeons. That will ensure they'll be on our side during the Landsmeet, and they'll probably spread the word to others, too. No one is going to trust a ruler who would subject members of a royal family to such treatment. As expected, the alienage is full of beggars, cheats, and criminals. Same as Dust Town, and for the same reason. Although no one is falling into the sky here. There's also a crowd outside quite upset about two things. That there is some kind of plague here that the Tevinters are allegedly helping with, and that people who go in can't be visited. Some fear the plague, others like Shiani here are convinced that this is a trick. That sounds bad. Excuse me, Shiani, can I help?
What's wrong, Shem? Did you get bored and decide to come watch the elves die of plague?
Someday the Blight will come to this city, and I will be so happy. I work my way inside, and gradually the pieces come together. The Tevinter are collecting elves as slaves to be shipped back to their homeland. They're the only nation where slavery is openly legal. But their leader here claims that this is all with Loghain's permission. He even has documents to prove it. I would really like to have those. He says all this after we've torn through his forces, naturally. He knows we're tough enough to avoid fighting if it's worth it. But when Tim demands that they leave the slaves behind and give over the proof, well, the slave master refuses that. He doesn't want to give up that much. Big mistake.
Enough! Enough! It seems your reputation is an accurate one. I surrender.
Tim asks for a new deal, so the slave master suggests that he use the life energy of all these elves to make me even more powerful. Well, that's a sweet-sounding payoff, but no, I don't think so. I may kill lots and lots of people, but generally I try not to when it's not my life or liberty at stake. Just because I'm a casual murderer doesn't mean I don't value life, okay? Anyway, I suggest that he turn over the money, the elves, and the documents, and scurry back to Tevinter and tell them not to pull this shit with us again. There's a new sheriff in town. It's not me, I just know there's a new sheriff in town because I killed the old one. I shot the sheriff, and then I shot the deputy. With this, Arl Eamon is ready to call the Landsmeet, so we quickly head there to help make the case. Loghain babbles madly that to make Alistair king is to hand Ferelden back over to Orlais, so Tim points out that the threat they need to worry about isn't the Orlesians, it's the Blight, the thing that's already overrunning a lot of the country.
The south is fallen, Loghain. Will you let Darkspawn take the whole country for fear of Orlais?
And then there's the small matter of selling Ferelden's citizens into slavery.
What's this? There is no slavery in Ferelden! Explain yourself! There is no saving the alienage.
And then for the Triple Crown, I bring out Honora herself, who denounces Loghain as a traitor who allowed their king to die. The vote is so lopsided, I think the guy who voted for Loghain was a hipster doing so ironically. But he rejects this and instead challenges me to a duel.
I underestimated you, Warden. I thought you were like Cailan, a child wanting to play at war. I was wrong. There's a strength in you that I have not seen anywhere since Marek died. I yield.
I didn't just hear you say that. You're going to let him live? After everything he's done? Kill him already!
No. No, I won't. I've killed my way from one side of this country to the other, and what has it gotten me, huh? A collection of devoted followers, my own army, the respect of leaders, bags full of gold, and sex with a hot witch. Okay, that was a bad argument. I want a do-over.
Wait, there is another option. The Tern is a warrior and general of renown. Let him be of use. Let him go through the joining.
Absolutely not! Riordan, this man abandoned our brothers and then blamed us for the deed. He hunted us down like animals. He tortured you! How can we simply forget that?
Riordan has as much reason to hate Loghain as we do, but Alistair is blinded by his desire for revenge, so much so that Loghain must die for him to take the throne. But Riordan is right, and Alistair is doing this for all the wrong reasons. It was Loghain's hatred of the Orlesians that caused all this suffering to happen. Yet Alistair is perfectly willing to let his own hatred stand in the way of what's best for his kingdom. So regretfully, I have to refuse the throne. Though I do convince Honora to spare Alistair's life, provided that he swear to give up any claim to the throne. Alistair finally found the family that he was missing through the Grey Wardens. And yet this hate that came to him, it's cost him everything. That family, his throne, and his place within our ranks. As for Loghain, he survives the joining and takes Alistair's place in our group, which is naturally a bit of an odd situation, for us and for him.
What's on your mind?
You know who I am, yes? I was one of the crows you hired to kill the Grey Wardens.
I thought you looked familiar.
Well, I just wanted to report that I failed my mission, Loghain.
You don't say.
I'm terribly broken up over it.
Well, thank you kindly for informing me.
So, a 10th companion. Well, this throws that whole Knights of the Old Republic comparison thing I've been doing out the window, right? There were only 9 companions in KOTOR after all. The 10th video that I did was of the PC himself. Remember? Spoiler warning. That was Revan. And obviously Logain's not the PC, right? You're fighting against him the whole game. And if he was Revan, I mean, well, that would be like having a legendary general whose genius in battle led to the defeat of a seemingly insurmountable force that had invaded, only to wind up betraying his own country to become a villain. But then when confronted by the heroes, have his life spared and be turned to their cause and fight to stop the bottomless forces of an invader who's in the service to utter darkness. So obviously Logain is nothing like Revan. He doesn't have a mask. Logain's actions have been criminal and immoral. I want to make that clear. Examining what happened, though, through his eyes will perhaps better show why he acted as he did. Logain was suspicious because Cailan and the Grey Wardens were speaking about aid from Orlais, and from the way he describes it, they were absolute tyrants.
I've seen painted, masked lords beat an old farmer to death with riding crops. To this day, I don't know why.
That's not to mention the... Crap, these are based on actual French names, but I forgot which way they pronounced it. I think it's Chevaliers in the game, but it can also be pronounced Chevaliers. Anyway, their knightly order are completely above the law there. We met a woman in Denerim who had to flee because her brother refused to let one rape her. Orlais may be beautiful, but that beauty's built on criminal abuses of power. Logain perceived everything through the lens of Orlais. Grey Wardens from Orlais were secretly their agents. That's why we were branded traitors. He sincerely believed that we were. To him, reinforcements from Orlais against the Darkspawn were actually a prelude to invasion, and a mutually beneficial call for aid would be taken as a sign of weakness that would be exploited. Logain was a man consumed by paranoia about the Orlesians because so much had been sacrificed. Merrick had rallied the people, and Logain was his general, and together they took Ferelden back for themselves. It was a bitter campaign. They were so ill-equipped to combat them, and yet they did it. They won. Logain was that great of a general, and Merrick that great of a leader. So the reason for his betrayal was because he truly believed that the Orlesians were going to try to reclaim Ferelden, whether through open invitation by Cailan or the Grey Wardens, or under the guise of helping their Darkspawn-infested neighbors. His plan was to first ensure their borders were secure, and only then worry about the Darkspawn.
There are those who would take advantage of our weakened state if we let them. We must defeat this Darkspawn incursion, but we must do so sensibly and without hesitation.
Logain's regency was to allow him to marshal their forces and do what was necessary to accomplish those goals. The problem is that Logain is kind of like a medieval General Patton, a great general and hero. But that does not make him a diplomat. So, instead of inspiring people to follow him, he demands to be followed. Logain could lead an army of unarmed peasants to victory, but it took Merrick to rally those peasants into an army in the first place.
Everything I have done has been to secure Ferelden's independence. I have not shirked my duty to the throne, and neither will any of you.
The Bannorn will not bow to you simply because you demand it.
Understand this. I will brook no threat to this nation from you or anyone.
He thought his actions would avert civil war, but they were, to all appearances, complete self-serving grabs for power. They wound up causing the very civil war that he worried about. When even that toady, Arl Howe, tells him this civil war wasn't going to leave them with the manpower to oppose the Darkspawn, Logain was insistent that the nobles be brought into line, and that force was what was needed. The irony was that he was perfectly capable of cooperation, given his relationships with the Tevinter slavers, Ulred of the Circle, his willingness to hire the Crows, necessary evils in his mind if it meant having the resources to combat Orlais and the Blight. Even the messenger sent to the dwarves was likely an attempt to gain their support against both. And as far as usurping his daughter, he scoffs at the idea that he could ever kill Anora. That was just her being dramatic. This doesn't change the fact that Logain is a traitor, murderer, and criminally wasteful of precious resources in the face of certain annihilation. This is merely to show that his motivation in retrospect was not one of ambition. Loghain believed he was doing the right thing for Ferelden, and was willing to do many great wrongs to see it done. As I said in the KOTOR review, there's nothing like a good cause to bring out the worst in people.
Let's get this over with then. There is little time to waste.
On our way to Redcliffe to unite our forces, our party comes across the unexpected, a man from the king's personal honor guard being murdered by soldiers. We intervene, but too late to save him, but I recognize that he's Cailan's confidant. Apparently he deserted his king.
Better a deserter than a traitor, right, Loghain? I fled the battlefield when you betrayed us. I abandoned my men, and Cailan with them. He was my king, my friend.
Where's all your grand posturing now? At least I took my men with me. You should have grown a spine and done the same, soldier.
I really hope it isn't going to be like this everywhere I take you, Loghain. Before he dies, he informs us that there are important documents in Ostagar, kept sealed in a chest for safety but invaluable. While the Darkspawn threat is grave, we agree to head back to Ostagar. Me, Loghain, Wynne, and Shale because there might be walls to knock down. 3 of us were here together, so this doesn't make for pleasant conversation.
Let me know when you're done glaring at me, madam. My memories of this place are no fonder than your own.
No. I remember good friends dying in this place, and a man whom I respected as my king.
All I remember is a fool's death and a hard choice. I'd make the same again.
Even knowing all that you know now, Loghain mac Tyr?
Even so.
One thing made abundantly clear is that whatever his feelings for the son of his best friend and the husband of his daughter, Loghain did not in any way respect his king. In fact, when we find the documents, he goes on a paranoid rant.
Cheating bastard!
Watch your mouth, Loghain mac Tyr, unless you have forgotten the company you now keep.
It's not my company I worry about, madam, but my former son-in-law's. Do you see the familiar tone with which the Empress writes him, as if my daughter were not already his wife?
Cailan loved Anora with every ounce of his heart. It was plain for all to see. The only thing that ever stood between them was you.
Are you blind, old woman? The plot is plain as day within this letter. Love or no, Cailan was going to cast my daughter aside and wed himself to that bitch Selene.
Please note that this is Loghain's interpretation of the letters. The same man who declared the Grey Wardens traitors to Ferelden because they asked for reinforcements from their own order that just happened to be in Orlais. It's possible that Loghain is right, of course, but he is the least objective person on the subject of Orlais there is, and there is absolutely no reason to take what he's saying at face value at all. Eventually we find the pieces to Cailan's armor, although we have to fight a Genlock necromancer to get them. Funny thing that, Genlocks come from dwarven broodmothers, and yet they're quite proficient at magic. Anyway, he reanimates the ogre that killed Cailan, which is fine because that just means I get to kill it again. With that complete and the area secured for the moment, we can take King Cailan's body down and give him a proper funeral pyre. After that's done, it'll be back to Redcliffe to finish the task that should have ended here, the task that the king died trying to end. Let's hope that this final stand goes better than the one that was here at Ostagar.